future.
Hi everyone! I was gonna say happy Catterday and I was like, wait, it's already Sunday. No, not Sunday. I'm not in a hurry to go to work tomorrow. I don't know about you guys. But also, if you noticed, like, where's that? Okay, right. Oh gosh, I can't point. Yes, with the question mark. There. with the question mark and the counter. This is for the Pokemon game. It tells you that and then the next Pokemon's gonna respawn in 3 minutes 28 seconds, and when it does, it'll show you which Pokemon it is. So that's fun. I finally got that part set up of the Pokemon community game bot, so now you can see which Pokemon it is visually and go, oh, that's what that Pokemon looks like, cause I didn't remember, or I'm not familiar with Pokemon, but I'm curious, and I want to play it, I want to know what they look like. So there you go. Now you get a little picture sprite of what they look like when they spawn. So it's pretty cool. So you'll see that in about 2 minutes. But welcome everyone, welcome to the stream, welcome Cuff, Thor, Michigan, Matthew, everyone that's lurking and listening. We're gonna play some Genshin today, and just relax. Try not to get flustered or too wild, but you know me. Sometimes I will. Sometimes I'll be like, ah! So here goes. We'll see what happens. But before I do that, I'm gonna step away really quickly and come back. But I'm gonna leave. Yeah. We're gonna leave it on this. I also have the counter on the screen, so you can see what Pokemon appears. It's just on the opposite side, which is probably gonna confuse everybody. That's okay. We just kind of keep people guessing. There we go. And it was off-centered, but I fixed it. But I will be right back. I hope everyone's having a good Sunday and eating good foods. I had tacos today. What did you guys have? I'm back. Hello, hi, I'm Diaz. Hi, Timmy Diaz. Welcome to the stream. So it said 0. Did it show you guys which Pokemon? Or did it, like, not do its thing? I didn't see a Pokemon. I did it a minute ago, I swear. Let's see. Properties. Try again. Make sure it does it. I don't know if it showed it or not. I know it only shows it for a short period of time. So, we'll find out. Alright, let's start this. Let's go. Drink water. Here's your reminder to drink lots and lots of water. Who made it that far? That's a lot of water. Like that much left. Chelsea Nvidia is working on like some kind of new tech where like your camera and your eyes, like even if you're looking off this way, it'll just look like you're looking into the camera nonstop, like no matter which way you're turning. It's like AI tech or something that like makes your eyes like look like they're focused on the camera the whole time. I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of like it'd be cool for like meetings and stuff, they said, because you'll look like ultra focused. But for stream, I don't know. It seems a little too fake. I mean, you know, I'm looking at the game, so. You licked Thor, Michigan. Alright. Woohoo! Genshin! Yes! Welcome, Heirloom! Welcome to this team! Let's see. Claim all the images. The Endeavor. Coffee beans. I'm gonna want coffee. All the birthdays. That was the birthday one. Are you doing the event? I'm thinking about it because I haven't did it yet. The Secret Summer Paradise event? Yeah. I need to. I'm gonna do my dailies real quick first.
1, 2, breathe, 3.
I haven't had a chance to like really play lately, so definitely want to do an event or something. Right. Dailies are evil. They're pure evil. Who wants to do those? Nobody. Nobody wants to do the dailies. Let's see. Who do I want to drop on top of? I'm not really good at, like, aiming this drop thing. I like want to fall on his head. There we go. Kinda did it. Thank you for the follow! Thank you. It should give you 150 just for logging in. Right? Just for logging in. Or like, yeah, make it like if you log in every day, you get a special bonus amount in a month or something.
Teach you that? Let's get it on! Area of life. Life goes on.
Stop trying to hurt me. Pay attention, Mona. I'm not paying very good attention today. We're just going to
tricks.
Have you leveled the character talents? Oh, I haven't done that in a while. I forgot about those.
Rise.
Thank you for the reminder. I leveled the characters, but I didn't level the talents. Terrible. We're going to the artifacts. Yeah, I haven't really done much with the artifacts either, but I do know the talents seem to make a huge difference. Where am I at? I'm like reading my screen and not paying attention. We're incoming. Yeah. Kill this dude right here. He's a troublemaker. Die already.
Let's get it on!
Yeah, but my characters aren't as OP anymore, so yeah. Like, no! Because the world level changed. I'm still adjusting to that. I'm used to being able to go in and kill everything like right off the bat with no trouble. And now, you know, I've gone up to world levels, so it's quite a bit different. I don't technically die, but it's a lot more challenging.
Prepare to be blown away!
I'm just gonna like smack you into the wall.
Buckle up! Coming through!
Doing pretty good. Glad! I'm glad you're doing pretty good. Welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for that follow. I hope you're having a good Sunday and just relaxing. Yeah, I should look at that. We'll head over to the next location first, though. Navigate, because I always like to know which way I'm pointing, because I get turned around. Let's go. And talents. Yay! Alright, can I do it again? Nope. Out of stuff. So, talents. Oh, that one hasn't been leveled up at all. Ugh, I need things. I need things. Max level reached. Then, what's my usuals? Nope, need more of that stuff. I need lots of stuff. Dang it, need all the things. Go for more attack than the others. Yeah. The normal attack? Let's see, a wild Murkrow appeared. Oh yeah, you can see the Murkrow! Look at that! Look at that. I see it better without the Genshin background, but yeah, you can see the Murkrow. I like it, I like it. Right. I'm gonna try this again. There! There's the Murkrow. That's what spawned in, if you want to catch it. See, everybody has such a different playing style. I've heard, like, to ignore the attacks, too. So I've heard, like, both. Okay. Yeah. Like the normal attacks, I've heard not to focus on those, but to focus on your abilities first. Hey, I caught the Murkrow. I think it just depends on individual playing style a lot, it seems. Talents. That one's done. Phase 3 level. Some elements that, like their specials, can be done first, but doing, or say, boosting attack is what I would suggest so you can do more damage, right? What? I feel like you should just do them all, but I don't know. Let's see if I have the stuff for her thing. I have enough for that. I'll do her, because I really use her to fight with a lot, so I get it. Using that sword and making that sword more powerful kind of just makes sense to me. Where is, oh, Chi-Chi. I knew I was forgetting somebody. I use the heck out of Chi-Chi. Is there a reason for lack of gameplay on screen? Because I'm a noob. No. I forgot to switch back. I was showing off the little Pokemon counter. I think that you do say 200 damage, but then can do say 600, then it would be worth it, right? Switch back. I gotta keep you guys entertained somehow, so apparently that's it. Let's mess up. Okay. So Chi-Chi had enough stuff to do all of it. It looks like you could even go again if you had the things. So 333, and I don't think I had enough to do it again because I still need some stuff. That should help a tiny bit though. And then who else do I use a lot? We looked at her, but I don't think I had anything, did I? No, I need that powder stuff. I never have enough of that powder, whatever it's called, this stuff. Fungal spores. I never have enough of that. I must not visit that area enough. When did I get a constellation thingy? I didn't even know I had that. How does that work? Does that just work as you level up for Traveler? Goddess Renee, thank you, thank you, thank you. Bro, oh man. Slacking, yes. Keep us guessing. What's the timer? It is the Pokemon! It's the Pokemon. It tells you there's 9 minutes and 52 seconds before the next Pokemon spawns. And when it spawns, it shows you a picture of that Pokemon. So now, along with the words on the screen, if you don't know what that Pokemon looks like, you can actually see what it looks like. So if you're new to Pokemon, or you just don't remember, which I do that sometimes, you can look and go, oh, that's what that Pokemon is. Or, oh yeah, I have that. So it's pretty cool. What's a Pokemon? Of course you would know what a Pokemon is. Look at it. It's so derpy. Derpy Espeon is so cute. Oh, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for that drink water as well. And welcome, Sixer. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, I slack. I don't... Apparently I don't, take care of my characters like I should. I forget to do things. There. We'll call it there for now. Let's see. Okay. Next thing. Oh. Next daily. Who's that cutie? It's a Pokemon. It's Espeon! I don't know.
Life goes on. You're right.
Oh, I should have changed Traveler out when I was in there. Back to Blue. Nice to have her in water type.
Wow.
Would be nice. Water type. I'm calling them like they're Pokemon now. The characters are totally Pokemon. That's what I feel like with the elements. That's how, you know, helps me learn it a bit, you know. Pokemon characteristics. Alright. Break that shit down.
Faster?
I meant the Fire Girl. They added so many cute waifus. Oh yeah, the Fire Girl is Dea. I love Dea.
You ain't messing around.
This girl. Oh man, I love Dea. She's beautiful. And she's my favorite Fire Girl.
Get it on.
Of course. That's why she's in my party. But I love her. They need to revert her changes. Yeah, they did change some stuff, didn't they? They muted her a little bit. What do you think? Get rid of her. No. She'll take 500 hits.
I didn't feel that.
And then he's gonna bomb away. He's still a babe.
Oh.
I'm not sure the actual things, but I know she was like more powerful previously, and there's been lots of complaints about it that they nerfed her basically a little bit. Just die already.
Life goes on.
Oh, that worked better. I have to remember that. But I'm just fixing to switch travel out anyway. Want my Nilo back. Only switched her in because of the dailies the other day.
Oh, you're calling for me? Coming.
Of course. You need to. Today I got her again, so she's at C4 now. Dang, that's awesome. That's awesome. Dizzy Goddess Rainier. Espion, nice. Game crossplay? Yes. With mobile and PlayStation. Both. Bite? Who did you bite? Bit artist. Uh-oh. I want Jean, not Dea. Oh, a friend of mine got Jean a couple weeks ago, and I was like, no! I want Jean. I was jealous. I was happy for them, of course, but I did want it. Right? Oh, okay, we're gonna give out some hugs real quick to see who gets the cookies in chat. Hugs! Let's see, daily hugs.
Wow, it's snowing.
Says, Jean is good, you won't let her leave your party, lol. Exactly. Let's see, hugs. Add. Or cookies. Cookies. Add. And you get the 500 cookies, Heirloom. Congrats. You got the hugs and the cookies. We're gonna boop somebody. Boop. Yeah, cookies would be amazing right now. Who wants to go into the kitchen and make me cookies?
I can really hear the snow fall.
Or bring me cookies.
Add in the
I'm
swirling
not picky.
snowflakes,
I'll
and
take
it feels like the
store-bought
spirit
cookies,
of
too.
nature is dancing.
I need some cookies. There. Where's that? Where am I going? It's over here.
Wheel of life.
I don't care. Artist meat. 28,514 cookies. I got Eula in one pull after 2 weeks of no Genshin. That was good. I didn't try. I haven't tried, honestly. I'm kind of just like not doing any pulls at all. I want one more.
Here comes trouble.
Sucks off.
cookies? Holy cow! 164,940 cookies? That's a lot of cookies. And I know you've given a lot of them away as well. A whole lot.
Let's get it on! Coming through!
Let's end this quickly.
Look alive!
This isn't good.
Got it. You are gonna play games with me. That doesn't work. Well,
Life goes on.
What annoyance. That seemed to work.
Rise.
what? I don't want to play run away into the cold. Get your butt over here. Hi, Matthew! Welcome. That's a cute little Eevee wagging its tail. I like that.
That seemed to work.
I like how it wags its tail.
Let's get it on!
So in 39 seconds, another Pokemon spawns, and we just see which one it is.
This is trouble.
I'm excited. You can see the little widgets. Little sprites pop up.
Go.
Yeah.
Finally, so quiet.
Reinforcements.
Neko-chan!
Oh,
WOOT.
opponents. Whoa! Split, thank you so much for the 6 months! Thank you. Genshin, hi. Yes! Well, Pidgey appeared. See the picture? You can see the sprite. Pidgey, I love it. I'm so happy I added those. And back after those ads. Oh no! Welcome back. Poke catch, guys, if you want to catch Pidgey. He wants to freeze me.
Life goes on. Go.
Heal my team a little.
Orders given.
Use ISO
Orders
knife. I don't
received.
care. He'll die. He died. Rip. Nick Duffy! What's good, KimonoKat? Playing Genshin! That makes me happy! What are your weapon levels and refines at? Good question. Not too high. I think they're at 30. I'll have to look. Thank you, Nick Duffy! Thank you for the biddies!
The underscore Nick Dathy shared. X10.
Thank you. Hiya. Got to finish the discussion board, but I'll leave a lurk. Thank you for the lurk. Thank you, artists. Thank you for lurking. I appreciate it. And thank you for all that hype in chat, Michigan. Or Thor. Actually, it was Thor. Thor did the hype. Oh, it was Michigan too, both of you. Thank you. I'm going back, make sure I didn't miss anything. Thank you again, Splints. Thank you so much for the 6 months. Thank you. And welcome to the stream. Thank you for lurking and hanging out. Oh my god, my phone is blowing up. Lightning proximity. Yeah. It's like, you're gonna get hit by lightning. Get inside. No. Can I see the banners, please? Yes, you can. It's X Angel, welcome. Or it's X Angel. I think that's what you said. Yeah. Words are hard, names are hard, but let's do the banners real quick.
1,
I don't mind showing you all. We have Eula. We have Keely. Yeah. So it's Eula and Keely. And there's your weapons. And of course, same one for that right now. Go back. Hope you're enjoying your day, Kimono. I am, Nick Dothy. Thank you. A lot of primos? Yes, it is a lot of primos. I've been saving them up. 18 wishes, nice. Yes. Lots of wishes. Gonna save them up for now. And then I got my 5 wishes right there. Because I want Wander. He's on the next set of banners, so I'm excited. Ah. Can't wait. You're welcome, it's Angel. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Matthew! What are you eating? What are you eating? Maybe with the 5 and the gems. I don't know, I didn't do the math. I didn't do the math at all. Math is hard. On the standard banner. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I could do that. I mean, why not? I could do a 10 pull real quick. See what we get. Yeah. I kind of just wait and do a 10 pull here and there. Maybe I'll get another Chi-Chi. Or one of the ones I don't have, actually. It'd be nice to get one of the characters I don't have. No, Chi-Chi! You know Chi-Chi's gonna be it, and so I get Jean. I don't know. And then Chi-Chi's never gonna be seen again. Black cat ears? You got it, I got you. Jean is queen, yes. I'm eating nuggies? And now it looks like you're eating popcorn. The nuggies are good. Black cat ears. Okay. Oh, I don't have that character. How do you say that? Me do? I don't know. You did. Not the best. Yeah. Who was the best electric or element? Who is the best? I guess is it called psychic? What is it called? I don't know. Who's the best? Beidou? Beidou, okay. Beidou. Rosaria? Okay. So there's no point in trying, so I get Rosaria. Pikachu! Of course Pikachu is the best. Raiden is the best Electro. She is the best. Yeah. I thought the mage at the start was good. I didn't have much. As a beginner, Lisa was really hard for me to work with. So, I ended up using Fischl a little more than Lisa. And then let's see. I'll finish clicking through these real quick. There you go. There we go. Lisa's sus, yeah. And then where's my command thingies? Okay. But yes. Black cat ears, Michigan. There you go. Thank you for the redeem. Thank you. And I'm gonna switch it back. I switched it back.
If you ever want to trade tactics, I'm always ready.
Level Beidou up and get more wishes. Starter characters are no-go until you get better ones due to being hard to get copies of them. Oh. Pipe. She never has materials, so no level up. Yeah, I'm a slacker. I need materials. I don't know what you're talking about, Turtle. Taking notes? You take all the notes. Alright, I think I've caught up.
If you ever want to trade tactics, I'm always ready.
Yeah, blah blah blah. Okay, I think I'm caught up. I want to make sure I don't miss what you guys are saying. And in today's stream, we're going material hunting. I should, but I want to do the event. I'm still learning Star Rail, so many new things. I think I did that last stream. We went material hunting, I feel like. Still learning Star Rail, so many new things unlocked. Yeah, I think I've played Star Rail 3 times. I like how I can level up pretty fast in that one, though. I have 8 more wishes. I kind of want to wait until it's 10, though. Although, I don't know that it really matters. I guess it doesn't really matter. Although it's saved, I'll got to get more of it. Oh. I'm still learning Star Rail. I finished the event on Genshin, now trying to unlock Leia. I'm so close. Shush! Don't talk about that, Turtle. That didn't happen. Love all the characters if you can. It does. LOL. Wait till you get it. Yeah, I'll wait till I get to 10.
3.
Tyler heading out to KCMO to see a musical and won't be home till after stream ends. Have a great stream. Thank you, Lady Rain. I hope you have so much fun tonight. I'm happy for you. Have a wonderful, wonderful night and enjoy your adventures. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You hear that, mods? Rain's taking the night off. I'm glad you're here if you're here lurking. I'm being silly now. Grinding for stuff will be hard to do. Yeah. Let's see. I want to go finish my dailies first as my goal. That is my goal above anything else. It's taking me so long to do that.
I
I
should
still
have
level
stayed
up those
indoors
talents.
today.
I need to do all the things. Jeez. I need to level up my talents. I need to level characters. I need to just play more. That would be a bonus. Oh, why, Timmy? Timmy. Why? Let's make you sus.
Look alive!
Roast all the chicken. All the pigeons. Right before his eyes. Alright, Timmy. Now we'll talk after I've roasted all your birds. You again. You scared all my pigeons off again. No, I cooked all your pigeons. Correction. I was feeding them. What do you have to say for yourself? Delicious. Well, Mommy always tells me that if someone is really sorry, they will show it with their actions, not their words. I'm not sorry. The French pigeons are my friends. I feed them all the time. There will be more. I can promise you. There will be more. Every day. They will come back. But these days the ducks are coming and stealing their food, and the pigeons never have enough to eat. Find some meat to feed the ducks. Okay, Timmy. After the quest, talk to him and find out about his backstory. Oh god. I'm scared. It's gonna make me cry. It's gonna make me cry. Oh, you know, I probably have some wheat. Look at that. Yep, got wheat. It's perfect. I don't know. Take it down to the lake and feed the ducks. Oh, I can't. You're the one that wants to feed the ducks. Why do I have to feed the ducks? Ah.
Guys.
I want to eat the ducks. Here, ducky. There, Timmy. I fed your duck. Not. I tried to kill it. Let's be real. I tried to kill the duck too. He's a bit of a birch. Oh no. He's special. Is that what you're saying? He's very special. Haven't seen Timmy in years. Could you do your dailies on another area? What area do you do your dailies in, Turtle? It was for the pigeons. Go away. I never want to see you again. Ever! Sobbing. I'm telling mommy. Oh god. Oh. So he's gone.
I knew 2 ducks who were named Lunch and Dinner Karnog 28 Bowser Kimono 1 Lick.
Lunch and dinner. Nice. That's pretty good names for pets. Ducks. Oh gosh. You have no reason to be in Mondstadt? That makes sense. Did you 100% the area already?
Breathe.
Do your dailies in Sumeria? Oh god. Speed up the time? Okay, that's a good idea. Because it's nighttime and he left. Let's just go for like 12 hours. Yes, you can change the time, Matthew, if you didn't know that yet. You're taking notes, right? Right? Anybody new to Genshin taking notes? You can change the time of day from nighttime to daytime. It's the first area, 100%, and the first month it came out. Dang! Do they add to the area or not? Also, again, Jeff, thank you so much for the 58 mods. Thank you, Jeff. Welcome to the stream. Mods in the house. Woot woot. Thank you. Thanks for the hype, Michigan. Michigan's gonna be my hype man. Are you my hype man? You're gonna hype everything up? Boinks Timmy? Yes, boinks all the Timmy. Maybe how time change. Told me a long time ago. Oh, I don't remember what I say. I'm terrible. Dunsparce! And there you go. Up in the right-hand corner, you get to see what the Dunsparce looks like. Listen. I'm listening, Jeff. What do you have to say? Yes, poke catch Dunsparce if you don't have Dunsparce and you want it. Exclamation poke catch. And exclamation poke start if you don't have the game and haven't played yet. Alright, so was that my last daily? Yes. Oh, we're talking to Timmy. I forgot.
No
Timmy!
way.
You guys want
Life
to
goes
Timmy.
on.
Ah! What are you doing here? You're scaring the pigeons away. I didn't do that yet. This time. They'll be back. There's not much I can do about it now. They'll be back. You come back usually, but what happens if one day they leave and never come back? They always come back. They know where the food is. Oh, did you put 2 L's in the lick? I think so. Now you kissed Heirloom on the cheek. Aww. Cute. Just like Daddy. Oh, God. Poor child. Yep. Okay. That was the backstory. I take it. Was that all of it? Poor Timmy. So I guess he's here waiting on the bridge every day, feeding the pigeons, hoping his father will return. Maybe. Maybe that's what it is. Matthew and Turtle caught the Dunsparce. I did not. I was denied the Dunsparce. I was not allowed to have Dunsparce. There you go. Let's go, Karen.
Ad Astra Abyssosk. Thank you for completing today's commission.
Get all of these.
Ad
and
Astra
stuff.
Abyssosk.
Dispatch characters. Claim. See? Eggs. For those of you that need to know. No names. No names. Claim. More eggs. For those of you that need to know. No names. No names. Timmy can be backup food like Paimon. Yes! Oh, there's more later on what you find out about him? Aw. No one likes him. Is he a brat? Is this the one that has the stones? Yes. Let's go. And select. There you go. I'm guessing eventually you get characters that actually get bonuses for going out on those things. I'm not sure.
Everyone can hear your voice.
Timmy, ban Timmy. Ah, no one likes Timmy. Ah, sounds like he needs to be more productive in life and help
Wonder
people
what's inside this package.
and prove himself instead
no,
of
No peeking
being
at my
sus.
customers' stuff.
And Nick Dothy, if I missed your biddies earlier, thank you so much for the 10 biddies. I just now saw that. I don't think I said thank you earlier. I think it happened the same time as the cat ear redemption. She's so cute. Claim, claim, claim. How are you, Jeffafa? Yeah, you can get characters that give bonuses. I stick all the characters on the Mora hunt. I do the stones so I don't have to do the daily smash 10 block things. And then some of the items, I don't know. Not that I'll ever run out of the items. I wish they'd actually give you items you need to level your characters. That would be nice. I have yet to really see items that help me level the characters I chose, though.
Let me see. Okay, let's
Alright.
get going. The next location on my list is really far away.
We're gonna look at weapons real quick. So we still have this weapon equipped, and it's only level 20. And I don't know if I have anything that's better. I'm not an expert at this. You guys are the expert. I'm guessing this is still the best weapon for her. Although I do have this thing right now. I don't pay attention because it's level 1, of course. And then I have this green thing, which I can combine into, I guess, enhance it with the others, because there's 3 of them. Or refine it. Oh, it must be unlocked? How do you unlock it to refine it? I don't know. Anyway. There are areas around that give you more than sending people out. Not too sure as I have her ultimate. Just need to refine it. It takes off the unlock. Oh, okay, okay. So like, and then enhance it, and I'll unlock it. It is locked. It must be unlocked in order to be used as material. I don't know. Click on the lock icon. Okay, so I open it up. I don't see the lock icon here. Oh, there it is. Ah, there we go. Okay, so that one can be turned into the other one now. I get it, I get it. Okay, thank you. Unlock it here. And then I can just like refine this one that I leveled and add those other ones in. You should be able to refine her weapon as you would have picked up the stuff to do it. Okay. Rank 3. Dang. I don't know who's gonna use that sword, but I did it. Okay, so... Enhanced, refine, maximum refinement reached. So yeah, I can't do anything else with that one. Unless I ascend it, but I'm missing items to ascend. Gain runes of thirsty capital, purchased from souvenir shop in Mondstadt. So you can buy those things. Makes me want to go craft and see what I can craft first. Yeah, apparently I need those things to ascend all these weapons. Those handcuff looking things. And it looks like I could just buy them. I don't know what it, yeah. You already bought them? Oh, so they're not there anymore? You can only do it once?
Whoa, the scenery here is wonderful. I've landed the perfect job. The neighboring nation of Liyue has the most prosperous commercial.
Oh, those are some of the things I need. I don't remember which one, I'll have to look. I can look and see which one I needed, but I was gonna look for those. Okay, so the handcuff thingies aren't in here. Chains of whatever. Ta-da! Yeah, they're not in here. Okay, go ahead and refine these while I'm in there, though. Wait, is she the right person? No character bonuses. That's right, there's no character bonuses for the first level. Blue. And purple. And okay, just gonna leave those in that form for now. Have a look at what books you need? Yeah, I'm going to. Doing well, still got a lot to do tonight, but it shouldn't be too bad. Well, good luck, Jeff. I'll be lurking about while I do stuffs and things and stuff. Okay. Could refine the ones you need. Yes, that's what I was thinking. Refine the books that I need. And that was for the constellations, wasn't it? Not the constellations, talents. Sorry, talents. I need that one for her, the flowery thing. To tell you what it's called specifically, Guide to Paraxis. And it looks like I need 4 of those. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, let's do 4 of those flowery things.
I wonder what's inside this package.
Guide to Paraxis. This one. It says I can only make 2. We'll go ahead and make the 2. Start. Or 1. Or whatever I made. Okay. And 4. Balance. I need need these scrolly things. Teachings of transcendence. All material domains are open on Sundays. Ooh. So you're saying I should go do some domain runs? What was that again that I just looked at? I don't even know what I just looked at. I lost my thought. I totally lost my thought. It was... Okay, a scroll. This one. Teachings of... There we go.
Let me see.
So, scrolls. Are they on here? No, not really. Or if they are, I just don't have the thing. Oh, only the advanced scrolls are on here. Looks like they're new. The blue. Higher level. I don't have the base level one. Darn adverts. My advice is that you are building your main character focus on the attacks.
Ancient alchemy truly is fascinating.
Yeah, I think they all need the same thing though. Yeah, it seems like it'd be the same items no matter which talent I'm trying to level. It looks like you need the same items. Electric! Go catch the electric, guys, if you want electric. So I need to figure out what domains have the items I need, is what you're telling me, Turtle? So, like... Oh, this one doesn't have it, but... Adverts again? There's some books. Not the ones I need, though. Flowers. Not what I need. Flowers. I do sometimes need this stuff. Which one was the one that I clicked on that I couldn't see? Oh, was that one? Weird. Electric has been caught by Turtle, Cat, and Matthew. Congrats for catching Electric. So many domains. Already checked that one. There's probably a better way to do this than what I'm doing. I'm sure. You geniuses out there now. Oh, there's the cuffy things. I need those. Okay, we're gonna go here and get those things that I need. Teleport. You can make any other characters into DPS though for now, for all the characters are going low level and making it a bit harder to go through the game. Doodle! Hi. Domain switch
Whoa, the scenery
only
here
shows
is
you
wonderful.
domains and tells you what type
I've
of
landed the
domains each one
perfect job.
is. You hit the domain switch? Where is that? It's only domains. Bottom left? Okay.
I wonder what's inside this package.
Not the menu.
No. No peeking at my customers.
Not the map. Oh, there it is. I see it now. Duh! Weapons, decisions, materials. That's so cool. Thank you, Doodle. And Earl, thank you both. Appreciate it. I did not know that. See, I learned something new today. I have never done that before. Ooh, that is super helpful. Okay, cool. I'm gonna teleport there.
Stuff.
What characters do you have, by the way? Like all my characters? Oh, it'd be easier just to go here. There you go. This is who I own currently. All those peeps. That's it, right there. No problem. Thank you. Oh. Yeah, my big face is in the way. There we go. Big face is out of the way. Good job. Hard finding a place for your camera. It's like, You missed Kirara? Oh no! That would be super sad too. Yeah. I'm saving up for Hat Boy's weapon. Yes. Do it. I want Hat Boy. I don't have Hat Boy yet. So I'm saving all my pulls for Hat Boy. If you're talking about Wanderer, I'm guessing that's who you're talking about. Since his banners will be next. Flying Hat Boy. We all know who that is.
Okay, let's get going. The next
The one that can fly. Okay, so we need to do stuff. So you get the cuffs there, but I don't have to fight. Oh, I guess you can fight lower levels. Get them. Because I know, like you said, my characters aren't tanky enough, so it doesn't mean I have to go into like a level 3 to get what I need. Wishes works on Wonder as well. Withs work for the wishes, I'm guessing. But yes, Wonder. That's the one I want. It could be. Let's see. If I do that, I at least get the next level too. And then I have that level unlocked, but Jeez, possible reward change display. Change daily? Oh. So Sunday. Oh, you have more chances of getting even more things. Cool. Is a 4-star catalyst? Oh. You just think the bell is cute. Aww. It's mainly just farming for the character you have right now. You have a decent amount to do damage with, right? Okay. I just don't usually ever do these by myself. Usually have like people in here. So if you guys want to join, let me know. You know, people who are already my friends, of course. Is that who keeps sending me messages? Turtle! Turtle's gonna help me. I should have known. I should have known. Okay, Turtle. I appreciate the help. Let's go. Let's see. You can if you want. Do you have your computer on? You can come too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Snow on? Is that how you say it? Snow on? I hope I said it right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for that follow. I appreciate it. I can't enter your world. Oh, yeah. Never mind. Never mind.
Onwards. We have work to do.
The turtle's OP anyway. Get back to that level. And I'll be leveling up again. That's the terrible part, because I could, if my characters were strong enough, I could go level 10 more levels probably. I don't know. And XP is dumb. No, cancel. I'm not leaving. I'm so jelly you have that blue version of Show Rush, or whatever the name of that one is. Actually, that's a different one, isn't it? You have a couple of them, don't you? Probably try to max out as fast as you can because you know the story of the game.
Are all working
Jean,
hard.
hello. Yup. Jean. She's OP. I like that outfit on her too. It looks cool. Alright. Let's go. I should have brought a different character.
Beg for mercy.
It's not gonna matter because Turtle's in here. Let's be real.
Freeze to the core.
Jessie! You want a C6 version of her? I just want a single version of her.
Beg for mercy.
A single version would be nice. You want a C6? Oh, but hi Desi, welcome to the stream.
Shudder.
Ta-da! Where'd it go? I get turned around. There we go.
Faster.
Tree thing.
Okay, faster.
Just gotta keep wishing and she will turn up. Yes. So since I I need a lot of those, I should just stay in here and do it again, right? Continue in 4 seconds. If Turtle didn't leave. Did you leave, Turtle, or are you still here? Because I need, like, to do this at least 2 more times, I think. Teammate has left. You did. I need more of those things. You'll get more of it, yeah. To claim it, I didn't want to. No! Just say, does it just... There it goes, it's being weird. Just keep running, just keep running, just keep running. You don't have to claim rewards to keep going, it's not your world. True. You can just not go up to it and claim it.
Motion to repel! Sacred name, fortune preserver. Faster.
I don't want to be in a bubble.
Beg for mercy. Blood of frost. Crush. Opening box of Adepti-Trix.
Ooh, there you go. You can see which Pokemon that is. Mara Cactus. Oh, catch. Get the cactus. I want Chi-Chi so bad, but the game literally only gives me Diluc and Mona. I want Diluc! But yeah, I like Chi-Chi. Catch the Pokemons! While you can, before the time's up. I'll catch. Callie! Hello, hello, hello! And you caught it! You got the Mara Cactus. Congrats, congrats. Let's see, is she fast? In this form. Aw, I messed it up. I hit the wrong button. Just want to see how fast she is. Bloop, bloop, bloop. I feel like she's faster, you know?
Coming through.
But anyway.
Life goes on. Here, please. Sacred name, fortune preserver. Beg for mercy. Vengeance will be mine. Shudder.
I'll see if that's enough. The Paimon stare. When you tell her she's backup food. Is that what she does? She goes, I'm not food. Paimon's not food. Paimon is food. Totally food. Right? It's getting darker in here. It's like getting ready to storm outside again. Not that it really quit. But alright, let's see where we're at real quick. And then we'll, Were we doing weapons? Is that what we needed those for? I think. Yes, I was to ascend the weapons. Okay, so I can ascend her weapon. And now I can level it. Yay! Nice. Okay. So then next I'll need those other things, which I have enough of, but not the blue flower things. Dropped by specters. Okay. Then... who else needed those? Did she need those? No, it was another weapon, but it wasn't hers. What weapon is she using? I don't even know. I think it was Chi-Chi's weapon. I wanted to enhance next, yeah. There's nothing left. Anyway. Done. Ooh, I can do that weapon again? Chi-Chi's weapon again? Use condensed resin. You get more items. Hi, Mono! Hope you're doing good today. Get them in Inazuma. Oof. Doing good. Should I? Should I? Should I? Why not? Dang. Okay. So. There's nothing there. 2. Is there anything left? Yeah.
Whoa, the scenery
I might
here
take
is
another nap for a
wonderful.
bit. Do it! Sleep well!
I've landed the perfect job.
I could do it again. Hold on. I don't want to use up all my items. Before I get the others' weapons leveled up a little more than just Chi-Chi's. And then this one, I don't even know if that's the best weapon for her. I think I just gave it to her just to give it to her. This is where I have the real. I'm gonna be real. This is the part where I struggle, like trying to figure out what weapons to give who.
Let's get
And
going.
here, my
The next
photo,
location on my list
head's
is
in the
really
way.
far away.
There, my head's in the way. So we're gonna cover up her head. Here, we'll cover up her legs. No looking at her legs. No looking at her legs. Her cute little legs. Yeah, it's not. So I'm wondering if I should steal like somebody else's weapon. Have forged any items? Not weapons, I
wonder
haven't.
what's
No.
inside this package.
Hello, Monstrosity!
No
Welcome!
peeking at my customer's
I just
stuff.
realized your name changed. I forgot. I saw you put it in Discord. Yeah, leg pervs. Yeah, no looking at the legs. We're gonna cover them up with my face, which isn't. No looking at this either. Just kidding. Lion Blade? Okay. I think that one's better. Opponent affected by pyro or electro.
Oh, the scenery here is wonderful.
Increase damage against opponents affected by pyro
I've
or
landed the
electro.
perfect job.
That worked better with her Dendria. So not Ice Boy's not really using it.
what's inside this package.
Gonna lurk, had a
No,
rough
no, no.
day and wanna
No
relax.
peeking
Do
at
it,
my
do
customers'
it.
stuff.
Relax. Thanks for the lurk, appreciate it, and I hope your day gets better. Okay, so now that... Okay, so it literally just switched the weapon between him and her. Okay, I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that.
Huh?
But I need these things. I have to look for those. Thundercloud Altar. So we get those from Thundercloud. Go get those. And then, oh, and I need those things too. Thundering Ruins. So I need those too. So I need the ball things. And the pillar looking
Let me
things.
see.
I don't know. My words are terrible. Some will be in your
let's get going.
store as you
the
can
next
buy
location
them.
on my list is
With
really
the
far away.
Stardust. Yeah. But I can do more domains. What did they have here again? Okay, they don't have those here. I'm gonna look and see. Artifacts, weapon ascension, which I don't... Oh, they get the pillar things and the ball things here, but I think it was the other color of the pillar things. Oh yeah, it was this color. But this one has both the things I need, so I could come here and get the
Oh, the scenery
ball
here is
thingies.
wonderful.
And the pillar thingies.
I've landed the perfect job.
The silver thing with the blue in the middle. Oh, okay, okay. You're talking about the flowers? Oh, you're talking about the glitter stardust. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I could buy some of this in the shop, yeah. I probably spent all my stardust on me. Now they can see the side chat. Jeez.
Let me see.
There we go.
Okay,
now
let's get
they
going.
can.
The next location on my list is really far
Cover
away.
you up. I covered it up. Oh, wrong thing. No. Imon's Bargains. This shop? Yeah, but I don't have that much stuff. I don't have that much star glitter. Yeah. Drink water! Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, I don't have that. Oh. Alright. What level do I want to do? I don't need to do that level because I don't need those things. I need these things. And the silver ones of those, where are they at? That one. So I need this altar and the other one. Did you leave, Turtle, or are you still here? Yep, still here. I had to turn around and look behind me. It's like, let's see if it's here. Go up, go.
I do hope the Knights of Favonius are all working hard.
I can't remember how many I needed, though. It's all in there if you need it when you make more wishes. Yeah. I Can't remember if I just needed one of these or two of these. Alright, let's try this again. Go faster! Cute. Oh yeah, you changed it now. You got the pretty one, the one I really like. The bird looking one with the actual bird beak. That's so cute. I didn't bring a fire type in here. I didn't even pay attention to what type I needed. Terrible.
Life goes on.
This is gonna be fun.
Orders given. Orders received.
Challenge completed. Well, that didn't take long anyway. Which way? This way. Treating! Ah, yo, come on out! Long time no see, how you doing? I'm doing good, how are you? See who it is. I don't know! Okay, and I don't know if that might be enough, so I'm gonna leave. That might be enough. I'm gonna leave and see how many I need before I do it again. Now if you can remember whose weapon that was.
Breathe. 3, 4.
Not Chi-Chi's. Had to be this one. Nope. Wrong thing. Oh, I need one more. I need one more at this domain. Okay, so I gotta do it one more time.
2. Breathe.
And that's just for the first ascension. Oh wait, back out. Funny thing is, I am downloading Genshin now. Nice. It's a really fun game. You'll like it. You can change it in the domain screen? Oh. Not a noob here. Let's see. What did I hit? Victory bell? I missed it. I missed the victory bell. I didn't even see it spawn. Matthew and Turtle caught it though. Did I not bring Turtle? I didn't. How did that happen? I glitched it. Welcome, how are you doing? Afro, how are you doing? Welcome to the stream. No, it's no problem. We did marbles this past Friday. Marbles. What's up? Look at You're good? I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. But yeah, we did marbles. We rolled some marbles. That's what we did. Dun, dun, dun. Well, that's all I need to get it to that level, so we'll see. We'll see. Just playing Assassin's Creed or Origins at the moment. Good game, good choice. Okay, so we're gonna level up this weapon and then go from there. Yeah, weapon. Enhance. Send. Confirm. Okay, materials. Alright, so we would have to do that again, plus figure out where the heck all these items are at. Drop by Fatui.
My people
Okay,
are
we'll
used
wait
to
on
the
this.
desert
Time
life.
to move on. We got this
But we
weapon to
shouldn't
level
stay
50.
here. I hope that one day they'll be able to find an oasis of their own and leave the sandstorms behind
did
for
this-
a better life.
What did we get this one to? 40, but we still need, oh, those flowery things. Ugh. I need these. Oh, no, that's why I don't have those. Yeah, we're not doing that. I'm not going back to Samaria and dying. Yeah. Let's see. Ooh, Destiny 2! You should be using your condensed resin. There's like
Crowley
800
underscore
regular.
crow underscore chaired. X10.
Yay! Thank you so much for the 10 biddies. Thank you for the hearts. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Much appreciated. Hype, hype, hype.
I do hope the Knights of Favonius are all working hard.
Let's see. So, who are we working on now? We can keep leveling that one,
We mercs have one
which
simple
is
rule.
crazy.
Whoever pays the most is your new boss.
I think we're good. No, it was these. That's what we needed. Oh, okay. So it's back in here, but it's the ball thingies. We need like 2 of those.
Onwards! We have work to do.
Let's see. So we're gonna go back in here, get the ball thingies. There they are. Teammates not ready. Let's go. Yeah, I may have did that. I may have wasted it. So you're saying I get more prizes if I use the other resin, but I have resin that I need to use up as well? Who is Turtle? Wow, it's a turtle, it's Turtle. Wow, it's a turtle, it's Turtle. One right above your name in chat is Turtle.
Here to play with me.
Freeze to the core!
Let me amuse myself a little.
So you get additional rewards, but the other one is what it is? I'll do it once to see what it does, just because I haven't ever done it. I've only ever used regular. I've never used the condensed resin at all. I feel like I'm gonna need more of those though, so do we want to do it one more time? Instead of one run, it's 2 runs in one. That's cool. That's good to know, though. I didn't know that.
Faster? Okay, faster.
Really, I wish they upped the cap to make it worth it.
Fire hazard!
Ah!
Go.
I just want to switch characters.
Look alive! Shut up!
The more, the merrier.
You asked for it.
Look at me. Just
Die already. Okay, Dan. They're dead! You killed them! You can stop! They're dead, I'm sure. I'm sure of it. You can stop. Anytime now. Used to be 120. Right. You did know what you just forgot. I probably did forget. I mean, it's probably been like forever ago. Probably heard it once. Okay, alright. Let's go fix that. Ice. Fire. Fire. Crowley, I get it. Okay, never mind. LOL. Fire. Okay. Weapon. Enhance. Yay! Much needed. Okay, next would be those little pink bag things. Fatui mages. Stardust exchange.
My people are used to the desert life.
Fight
but
some
still,
Fatui, why
I
not?
hope that one day they'll be able to find an oasis of their own
Playing that.
and leave the sandstorms behind for a better life.
Look at that. Oh, playing. There we go. Oh, I just got 100 primos. Whoa, chapter 6, what? Playing. Playing. What did I just unlock? I don't even know. I just did a thing. That's what I did. I finished a progress thing. We're in chapter 6 of progress. Cool.
We mercs
There are 3
have one
domains of
simple
blessing
rule.
artifacts.
Whoever pays the most is your new boss.
Ascend a weapon to phase 3. Ascend 8 artifacts to level 8. Cool. So those aren't too hard to do then, probably. I never pay attention to those. They just happen and they get clicked off as they happen. I don't pay much attention to it. Okay, which thing was it? We were going here and looking for 2E's and navigate. There. Where is Turtle? Turtle is wandering around over there. Let's go here. Fight this Fatui person. Teleport. Oi! Water break. Mandatory posture check. Just pop in to say hi. Just got off work. Oh, congrats on getting off work. Welcome, Jean.
Expecto Patronum!
Hope you have a relaxing evening. Okay. Where is this creature? There it is. First, we're gonna just do this.
Are you here to play with me?
Yeah.
The merrier.
I forgot I don't have 4 characters now.
Happy Sunday.
Lemon! Thank you so much! Thank you, Lemon! Thank you!
Let me amuse myself a little.
Sacred name, fortune preserver.
A wild Sentry up here, guys! Sentry Pokemon on the screen!
The more, the merrier.
Catch it!
Over here.
Die, you little bugs!
You really know how to get me going.
Happy Sunday! Thank you so much! Thank you again for that stuff. I'm actually still at the hospital just grabbing a drink before heading home. Aww. Thank you.
Like,
Let me amuse myself a little.
Let's get it on! It moved. I'm not gonna survive even with your little creatures helping you. Need what you have.
Blink. The more assistance shine.
Yeah, there we go. You get like one of those bags. I wonder how much I actually need though. I was stealing your dandelions. Oh, okay. No, if you need them, take them. Take them. Nobody caught the Sentret. Sad. Thanks for the lurk. Have a safe trip home. Okay. Now that my brain has forgot what I was working on, we went to go get that little bag thing. Oh, it was for a weapon, I believe. Okay, we need 3 more of those. Dang. 2 more of those. Blech. Drop by Fatui. Okay. More Fatuis. All the Fatuis.
The desert's a tough adversary, but at least it doesn't hide anything. What you see is what you get.
Fatuis are
And whether
annoying.
you take on the challenge,
Down there. Down there.
There you are, eavesdropper.
Where'd it go? It died. She's still swimming. No, it jumped back up high? Where did it go? Oh, that's just another one on my map. Okay. There we go. Okay. So where was the next one at? I saw it. Aha. Out here. Oh, it's another Fatui. Hey, what does this have while I'm here? Flowers. does the mist pollen stuff get turned into a bag or whatever that is? Can I craft that into a bag? Probably not.
Are you kidding me? This is even colder than the nights in the desert.
Go in all the ice water. Good job.
Look alive!
Feels like cheer. Alright, next spot. Let's see. Standing a little too close. Catching myself on fire here.
Beg for mercy.
Oh, there's another one. Where's the nearest teleport point? That doesn't seem very near. Let me look around the map, see if there's any more Fatuis that are popping up. I think it only shows you one at a time though, doesn't it? So you just have to chase them around the map no matter where they pop up at. Thank you for the lurk! I'm going to hop on PlayStation 5 and play Genshin. Do it! Do it, do it, do it! Do it. I love me some Genshin, that's for sure. Okay, so is creature up top? Yep. Oh, out of stamina. I need more stamina! Getting hit in the head with coins. Momo! Oh my gosh, it's a Momo! Oh, I got robbed that time. I didn't even get the thing I needed. Dumb thing. The Tui. Hiya, hiya, hiya! Elu!
Sun's out, guns out. Just sucks that I got so much work to do.
I went the wrong way. There we go. Wait, it's up top? You can tell Turtle's navigation is OP because he's played this like 500 times. Okay, that should be enough of those thingamajigs. And now we gotta go get the other thingamajigs. From the other Fatui. Oh,
We
no.
mercs have one simple rule.
Okay, this one's
Whoever
set. Okay,
pays
I
the
can handle
most
that.
is your new boss.
I looked at stream for a second, remembering
According
where
to
it
some
was.
of the older
yeah.
airmans, it does actually rain in the desert on occasion. And when
You're
it
just
does,
OP, we
it's
know
always a
it,
lot
we know
heavier
it.
than
You're
this.
OP. You know all the things. Oh, what?
Time to roast
These things?
Chris.
Let's get it on! Get your dead mate!
Yeah. Okay, so just because I don't remember how many I needed, we'll go fight at least one more before I look again.
Sun's out, guns out. Just sucks that I got so much work to do.
Take the road.
Go with fun!
Oh. I'm going to head out to bed. Wish I could join you in game. It's okay. Next time. Or in the future. Get some sleep. Thanks for hanging out, lurking, and watching. Moral support. Thank you, thank you, thank you. For all the tips, too. I always feel like such a noob still. Oh, this one comes with bonus, the treasure chest.
Disgusting. I guess this is it.
I call dibs.
Okay, so we get a lot of insignias on that one. Oh. Girl's trying to get all the treasure chests now. Let's go. Treasure hunt. All the things and the stuff. Okay. Alright. Let's check. Oh snap, look! Hit Kit Kat! Yes! How are you? Welcome, Shade. Welcome, welcome. I like to help. Hope I'm not backseeking you. No, you're great. I like all the tips and help. I don't mind at all. Duckling! Welcome, Sliced Duck. Welcome, Sliced Duck. Welcome to the stream. Oh, I still need... Wait, are we fighting the rock for 2 thingamajigger? I need the blue thingies.
The desert's a tough
Why am
adversary.
I not getting the blue thingies?
But at least it doesn't
we keep
hide
getting
anything.
those thingies
What you
versus the
see
blue
is what you
thingies.
get. And whether you take on the challenge is
I don't
entirely
know.
up to you.
I don't know what's going on. We need the guy. Dude with the eyes thing. I just got on Genshin since 2 weeks, not yet. I have the top, but I'll wait. Okay, okay.
Ah, sun's
Yes!
out, guns out.
Lol.
Just sucks that I got so much work to do.
Alright, we gotta go. Oh, why was this camera moving up and down? I don't even know. Okay, so I'm gonna go somewhere. I'm guessing it's out to that island or whatever. There's treasure chests out here too. I'm not gonna complain. I don't know anything about Genshin, but I'm here for you before I have to go to bed. Oh, thank you for being here. Much appreciated.
Let's get
Hope
it on!
life is treating you well.
Gloves off!
I missed you last Friday. I imagine you had to sleep. Sleep is important. I'm logging on. I'll be there soon. Cat. Okay, sweet. All I have. We're just forging for items right now and leveling up weapons. So
I could make a
we can
tiny
get character
song
ascension
selling
stuff
some of this.
too. That'd be great. We'll do character ascension and weapon ascension items. You need to do the same. You're getting off. Turtle! No, no, no. I had some friends over Friday. That's awesome.
We mercs
Friends
have one simple rule.
Are
Whoever pays the...
I'm glad you got to hang out with your friends. I do that occasionally, you know. And then I don't stream either. Turtle, why won't you come visit me? Because he doesn't live in Florida? Wait, what? You mean the game? Just kidding. So we're going to this thing cabbage egg here. Okay. Standing right there. Oh no, Mono, I would never visit anyone IRL. I know I would. I don't blame you. I don't blame you. It can be scary. When you get to know people, it can be scary.
No excuse for slacking. I see through you.
No!
Time to fulfill
Just fell
my
off.
duty. No slacking off.
Dang it. My game. There it goes. It's like, hold up, people are coming in the world. We gotta make that a priority.
You can't run.
Don't knock me off again.
That all you got?
Opening box of the
Killjoy.
tricks.
We've only just begun. You can't run. Well, neither can I.
Keep getting knocked off the building. A Voltorb, guys. Voltorb. Go catch the Voltorb if you need it.
I see through you.
Do you? Do you really?
Get it on!
Why you got your shield facing the wrong direction? Actually facing my back.
Not breaking a sweat. You can't run.
Ouch.
Well, neither can I.
Real fun.
That all you got? Don't be a killjoy. We've only just begun.
Run with nature.
Looks like I...
Turtle, you
Went too
did get
far.
off! Turtle ran away. He's like, I'm dying.
This should be fun.
Oh, I guess he fell down somewhere. Oh, yeah.
Not breaking a sweat.
I wasn't paying attention. I was fighting. Oh, they're running over me.
Not breaking a sweat.
So my character, when I left, it was an initial rank 18, and my character's at level 30. That's good.
Into the wind.
Genshin can wait for me. The event doesn't end in a month. Okay, that makes sense. You can take your time, huh? All right. I feel like, oh, there's a treasure chest in here.
I call dibs.
Treasure! Oh, there's another one above my head, too. It seems like I came through here before, but didn't do all the treasures. And I forget how I got up there. I think it was over here. There. And then there's a random cabbage on the ground. Come on. There.
I call dibs.
Alright. Let's go pick this guy up. I need a good game to play. I keep switching it up all the time. Yep, I'm heading off to bed now so I can play Destiny 2 now, so have fun. So I can play Destiny 2 now. Have fun. I've been playing the new 7 Days to Die, but since I play it HC, I've been regretting it a lot. Oh. Hardcore? Okay. I was wondering.
Let's get it on! Ha! You asked for it!
Down here, Joe, you left. Down here. You're getting me.
Right
You
there.
ain't messing around! Orders given. Orders received.
This is bad. This isn't good.
We got some blue things. Oh, some blowy uppy things. Where's the other baddie? Why didn't this chest open?
Let's move. Shouldn't get careless.
Down there?
Detoxifying.
There. Okay. Now it's fun.
I call
That's
dibs.
the wrong thing. Okay, I'll go get those items that you had been feeding them. And then there's a baddie over here that I need. Those guys, oh, they're guarding a treasure chest too.
Have a load of this.
Oh, thank you.
Frozen.
Buckle up! Hi! Gloves off!
Should have targeted her. Okay, they're all on fire now.
Freshness preserved. Frozen.
Life goes on.
I will end you. Let's end this quickly.
No, let's not end it quickly. Just trying to build up my day a little bit.
Chill to the bone.
Sacred name, fortune preserver.
Yes. This is it.
Was
Yay!
it 7 years?
Oh, more stuff. That might be what I need. How much time have you put into Genshin? Oh gosh, I don't know. I wish it told you hours somewhere, but I don't think it does. I don't think it does. Okay, thank you, Turtle. Does Genshin tell you your hours? They probably don't want you to know your hours. I don't know. There we go. Send the weapon! Confirm. Actually, do I have any more? There we go.
Do you want to come fish blasting with me? I'll get grounded for a whole day, but it's way worth it because the fish tastes so good.
Oh, lots more Fatui.
These bombs, so heavy.
On PS5 or on mobile? It doesn't unless it's from Steam
1, 2,
or on
3,
PS5 and mobile.
4,
Yeah. Does it
2,
Genshin tell you on mobile how many
2,
hours you have then?
3, 4.
Is that what you're saying?
Where are you?
1,
17 hours is your update?
3, 4, and
Dang. Good luck, good luck, good luck.
Cleo is a brave girl today. I found a really weird-looking lizard. Want me to show it to you?
Found a really weird looking lizard.
Hey, do you know what?
These bombs, so
Let's
heavy.
do this demand
Neither
thingy
do
and get this,
I already
Can I get
forgot.
that one? No, I can't. I'm not high enough level.
Dodoko? Dodoko, where are you?
Can't get that item yet to unlock that yet. I could probably craft it, maybe. Curious if it's craftable. You can craft them? Yeah, that's what I was thinking, Jade. I was thinking I could craft it. You go look. I'm gonna craft that ball thingy I need. Yes, but I don't have the other ones, so I need 3 of the, or 2. I need the 3 of the lower level ones in order to craft that. So, yeah, I can do that. We need to craft those. Ooh, I know I needed that too. Okay. So, I need to go back to that thing and get stuff. Which one was that? Was that this one? I think. That one have the 2? It does, right there. Okay. Heroine level 2. Yep, I'll just watch you for now, I guess. I remember I'm still stuck on the license, lol. Oh no. Good luck, good luck, good luck. Shade, you're stuck in the ground. There you go. That's a cute outfit too. That's the newer outfit, isn't it? I feel like it's newer. I could be wrong. Okay, so wait, I can win that one. What? I can
Do you
win
want to
it.
come fish blasting with me? I'll get grounded for a whole day, but it's way worth it because the fish tastes so good.
Cool. I can now get drops. Yay! So does this game have drops right now today?
These bombs, so heavy.
I didn't notice. Check my notifications again. You writing a message real quick? Sorry.
These bombs, so heavy. Cleo is a brave girl today. I found a really weird-looking lizard. Want me to show it to you?
Okay. Ah! Got distracted. Ah! Yee. Okay.
These bombs, so heavy.
I hear you. I hear you. The bombs are so heavy. Which one's saying that? Definitely not Diluc.
Dodoko? Dodoko, where are
Let's
you?
go. Let's go. I should have healed my character. We'll do that. Food would be yummy. Close enough. Scarlet. Yep. I do.
Go.
The healer doesn't keep up. Like,
Rise.
not enough anyway. Like, I didn't heal Day up all the way, but I did some of the way.
Look alive! You asked for it.
Scatterbug! We'll catch. Let's really quick catch it. It may move where that bug is a little bit. It bothers me that it's like right by the icons.
Your mommy teach you that?
Where the Pokemon spawns. Ah!
Buckle up!
I didn't feel that. Wow.
Is there a better way to set up Chi-Chi to go then or something? Something I don't know.
Let's get it on!
The merrier.
Scatterbug's been caught my Kimono. Genshin got so good. Such good CG. Yeah.
Opening box of a death like this. The yellow one.
Beautiful game. I really love it.
Blink!
Buckle up!
Where did she go?
Boring. So very.
You ain't messing around!
Let me amuse myself a little. You really know how to get me going.
I didn't feel that.
Ouch.
Guys.
That was me.
The merrier. Let me amuse.
Go get yourself patched up.
The more, the merrier.
One with the force.
I didn't feel that.
The citizens shine.
Oh jeez. Wonder what the achievement was for. Did I need a lot of those? I think I just needed one. Yay!
Umbrella again.
No, I needed more of those. A bunch of those. Apparently I need 2 more of those. Dang it! Is that the same one I just got? I don't even know for sure. I think so. Yeah. I didn't need 2 more though. I guess we'll go back in. Dang, your character's level 70, Shane. Nice. Scatterbug has been cut. Yeah, I'm trying to get all my legendaries to at least 60. Nice. I'm mostly just concentrating on my 4 that I use.
This will be frozen in time.
Life goes on.
Look alive! Gloves off!
Alright, me.
Into the wind. Fallen leaves. Adorn my night. Freeze. Don't get frostbite.
I didn't feel that. We are fine.
One with nature.
Let's get it on!
Freeze. The wind knows me.
Sacred name. Fortune preserver.
Freeze.
Go.
Into the wind. Clouds high. Let's come.
There's like so much going on.
This moment will
The
be frozen.
leaves and everything. It's like visually it's like she's trying to keep up and then she's jumping all over the place. Alright, I'm gonna cheat. Since I need 2 of those. And I didn't get any? What? I didn't get any of the things I needed. And I need 2 more. Oh.
Look alive!
Fallen leaves. Adorn my night. Cool it. Dodge this. Frostbite. Into the wind.
Let's get it on!
There you are, eavesdropper. Let me amuse myself a little.
Freeze! One with nature.
Opening box of Adept Tricks. We are
The more, the merrier.
So sorry.
Let's get it on!
Into the wind.
Look at me. Just once more.
Come on, give me what I need. Give me what I need. No, did I pick? Did I pick the wrong domain? I'm starting to wonder. Maybe I have enough of the things though to craft it now, probably. I probably have enough just to craft it now. Alright, I'm gonna go check. I'm gonna go see if I can just craft it. Because I need 2 of them. Choking. Oh, dang allergies. How many blue do you get? Blue you get? I don't know. Let me look. But this is the one I need. Yeah. I've got plenty to craft them now. Craft. I should have checked to see if somebody was better at crafting that. I forgot. Okay, no bonuses. I don't feel as bad then. Now I could probably craft those if I need to, which is nice. No character bonuses, but I don't know if I need those yet, so I'm gonna wait. Okay, but now I still need like a bazillion Fatuis. Why so many Fatuis?
My people are used to the desert life, but still, I hope that one day they'll be able to find an oasis of their own and leave the sandstorms behind for a better life.
So many Fatuis. Gonna be like Fatui'd out. You only need 2? Yeah. I made them all. I may have did a thing. And just made them all. What level did we get this weapon to? Oh, because we need those blue things that require Stardust, because I can't go over there. So that weapon's maxed out where it's at. This one we decided to hold off on. This one needs, oh, the thing that I can craft. And then those things. Treasure hoarders. To get the level 60. You go treasure hoarding. People hunting too. Those are dropped by Fatui agents as well. So many Fatuis. I don't like the Fatui anymore. Ah. It's just way too many Fatuis to fight. And are we gonna get way up there on that wall? Oh, jeez. Is there a faster way up here? Probably not. I don't think there's a way to teleport up there. No, there's not.
We mercs have one simple rule. Whoever pays the most is your new boss.
I wonder if you could fly over from here, if it would be easier. Maybe? A wild apple turn? Ooh, Ultra Ball. I want the apple turn. That was a good idea. Going to the other teleport and flying. I don't have to climb. I didn't have to climb at all. It worked out.
You asshole!
This quickly!
Turtle's gonna roar in my ear.
Use this. I will end you. This isn't good.
No, I don't want to cook right now. I want to cook. No, I don't want to cook. I want to collect. Well, at least we're getting treasure chests too.
Selling some of this.
Not just Fatui stuff. Okay. Where's the next Fatui at? Did we kill them all?
My people are used to the desert life.
We may have killed
But
all
still,
those for the day.
I hope that
That
one day
kind.
they'll be
I
able
don't
to
see
find an
one.
oasis of their own and leave the
Whoops.
sandstorms behind for a better life.
Okay. What was the other one I need?
Do you want to
There's
come
more
fish
types of
fishing with me?
Fatuis.
I'll get grounded for a whole day, but it's way worth it because the fish taste so good.
These guys. Apple turn! I caught it! Turtle caught it! Congrats, Turtle. Appleton. Appleton has been caught. Okay, I'm guessing he's underground. On the road. Yep, right there.
Dues.
Look alive! Hi!
Prepare yourself. Leaving so soon.
Oh.
Rise.
Why does it keep doing
No
that?
escape.
Sacred name. Fortune preserver.
Now you can hide.
Oh.
Blazing to light!
knives I have. I wonder if I had... Oh, I didn't have enough. I remembered. I did look. I didn't have enough to craft
Well,
it.
how about
Wait.
that?
What? Crafting. But I didn't have enough. Oh. They're fighting.
Let's get it on!
Nah. Crystals. More baddies. All the grading and farming for what you need. Oh! I fell.
Dues.
What's alive? Hi!
Go.
What? No.
Prepare
Get back.
yourself.
Oh, I didn't mean to hit that. Eventually.
Into the wind. Clouds high. The birds
Get it
call.
on!
Can't run from death.
Pew, pew, pew. There we go. Oh, more. Dang. All the little knives. So I guess if you do a few of those, then you can craft like a ton of them. Right, well, we're gonna teleport to this place and then fly down and get at least one more and see what we got. Yeah. All the treasure chest. Probably getting treasure chests that I normally would avoid. Thank you for the lurk turtle. Thank you, thank you. I would normally avoid these because of the Fatui, and now that's probably why I need all the Fatui items. Ugh.
Pay your dues.
What's alive? You're dead meat!
No escape.
One with nature.
Can't run from death.
Please, little bombs. Gotta stay away.
I call dibs.
Alright. Okay. I'm gonna see if I have enough to craft now. Go back to Mondstadt. Or first, let's see how many I have. It is... Oh, that was the... I switched which weapon I was working on, didn't I? I did. So I need 3 more. And I own 3. So let's see if I can craft 3. Oh, I can craft like 8. That's awesome. Oh, I can craft those misty bag things too. Don't I need more of those? Yeah. I forget how many of those I need. Probably not that many. Craft. Okay. All juiced up? Yeah. Yeah. All juiced up. Let's see. Nope. Okay, so we got plenty of those now. I need
We mercs have one simple
5
rule.
of those. Can I
Whoever
craft
pays
5
the
of
most
those?
is your new boss.
Thank you for the lurk, Dave Dorothy. Thank you. You guys are awesome. I can only craft 2. So I'll need more of those eventually. And then go back to... So I need 3 more of those and these things. Those are treasure hoarder dudes. Which I could work on. But... She need the pink bag thing? She did. So I need like 12 of those? Okay, and I have 4. And I need the blue things. So let's see if I can craft the blue things and the purple things. Okay, where was it at? And there's the purple ones. I'm guessing I can't craft the blue. Oh yeah, I can. There they are. Oh wow. You tell me I can craft that many of them? What the heck? What the heck? What the heck? Okay. Then... Okay. So now we're gonna look. What?
My people are used to the
Do
desert
it.
life, but still, I hope that one day they'll be able to find an oasis
Another
of their own
achievement.
and leave the sandstorms behind for a better life.
You're out of Mora, you're broke. No! No! like running out of level up material. We won't talk about it. I just want to get this to level 70, but I'm running out of
We
materials.
mercs have one simple rule. Whoever pays the most is your new boss.
Level 69. We could leave it right there. We could just leave it at 69, right? Does that work? Level 69, just assume he's 70. There you go. No.
The desert's a tough adversary, but
70,
at
do
least
it.
it doesn't hide
Yeah.
anything. What you see is what you get,
Okay,
and whether you take on
yay,
the
level
challenge
70
is
weapon.
entirely up to you.
Hey, my weapon can go up to 80? So this one I still need those and those, which I don't feel like fighting right now. So Nilu has the most OP weapon right now. Or maybe this one, I don't know. This one might be the most OP too. Let's see. But I don't have any more materials.
My people are used to the desert life.
It would take
but
me
still,
forever.
I hope that one day they'll be able to find an oasis of their own and leave the
That's
sandstorms behind
ridiculous.
for a better life.
I think I'm gonna wait, because I don't want to keep using up everything. I'll have, like, nothing left. I need to find, like, 1,000,000 more. 90? Jeez, I'm gonna have to find 5,000,000 more.
Yeah.
Thank you so much! Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for the song. Thank you, thank you, thank you for the 2 months, man. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's so awesome of you. Thank you. So yeah. Now I feel like I need to work on my characters. Again. Max level is restriction increased. So I could craft those and those. Let's go craft those and
The
those
desert's
for her.
a tough adversary, but at
Green
least it doesn't hide
and
anything.
red. Okay.
What you see is what you get. Up to you.
Ancient alchemy.
Oh, red of that. I had enough to make one. And then it was the headband things, the green headband thingies. These. Is that the right person? Yeah. Nope. Got me a little closer. Still need a bunch of them. That's a little closer. This one just needs 3 blue things, that's it.
3, 4, and
I'm gonna have to make 2. Let's see, is there anybody that has a crafting bonus for this? No, there's not. Dang it. So getting closer. Just need 1.
1, 2, breathe. 3.
1 and Chi-Chi can be level 70.
We mercs have one simple
Not really
rule.
working a bar.
Whoever pays the most is your new boss.
I need a bunch of things. I can craft that though, I think. The blue ones. And then for the cat girl, I can craft the green ones. The blue ones, green ones. I don't think that's something I can craft. Did I say green? I did. Get him a little closer. That all helps. And I feel bad that I'm not really working in Nahida anymore. I love Nahida. I'll just have to come back to Nahida. The cat girl kinda... Oh, crap.
The
I'm
desert's
not even
a
on the
tough
right screen.
adversary, but at least it doesn't hide anything. What you see is what you get, and whether you
see
take on the
nothing?
challenge is entirely up to you.
On that note, I think it's time almost for sleeps. Because I'm tired. I have to work. And I have to be up super early tomorrow, so spend a total of that many more. Cool. Spent a lot
We
more
mercs
than
have
I
one
apparently.
simple rule. Whoever pays the most is your new boss.
I made a silly. I do it a lot. I'm terrible. I'm terrible. Let's go to my Polio Labs and check in real quick. Get my Genshin check in. See what we get today. Mora, 500. Okay. See, I got mail. The Mora I just collected. That's what happens when you do that. Claim. And then while we're here, oh, wrong thing. Let's see what that achievement was. Rearmed, reforged. Ascend a weapon to phase 4. Okay. Is there any other achievements? Yeah. Game you saw, we co-opt. Complete domains together with other players 20 times. Nice. Done that. Anything else? Nope. That's it right now. On the achievements. Can't forget my Star Rail check-in too. Even though I haven't played it, I still check in all the time. Make sure I get my daily check-ins on Hoyo app. Your donation don't pop up? What? Let me look at it. It's probably broke still.
My people are used to the desert life, but still, I hope that one day they'll be able to find an oasis of their own and leave the sandstorms behind for a better life.
And find it real quick. Doesn't show it. Even in the activity feed. Hold on. Maybe it hasn't processed yet?
The desert's a tough adversary, but at least it doesn't hide anything. What you see is what you get, and whether you take on the challenge is entirely up to you.
Should work. Its Stream Elements isn't working. That's dumb. Might be you? No, I don't know. It says it didn't. It doesn't have anything, but that doesn't mean it's not working. I don't think it had sound last time. Like I see a thing that says yay.
Yeah.
I see the subscribe one was the last notification. Yeah, that was the last one I see. Yeah. I don't think it's working.
We mercs have one simple rule. Whoever pays the most is your new boss.
Oh wait. It says it on the thing, it just doesn't show it. That's weird. I found it in the revenue thing. Let me see. I'll have to work on my notifications. I think it worked. Yeah. I got a PayPal notification if that helps. Thank you so much. Thank you for the donation. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'll have to see
My people are used
why
to
the
desert
Stream
life,
Elements bot
but
isn't
still,
alerting me.
I
It's
hope
like
that
telling
one day
me
they'll be able to find an
in
oasis
the
of
revenue
their own
history that it's
and
there,
leave the
that you
sandstorms
donated,
behind
but
for a
it's
better
not
life.
like doing a pop-up for it. I don't know why. But thank you so much. Much appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it went through. I just wish it would show it at the top, because I think... I'll try to get it fixed, because that's just weird. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And thank you all for the retweets. Those are awesome too. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
We mercs have one simple rule. Whoever pays the most is your new boss.
Okay, but yeah, I don't know. I don't. I don't know why it won't pop up. It's being sus. But I will check it out. It did go through. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm very, very, very much appreciate it. Let's see. Now I feel like I can't end on that note. Did all that and I'm like... You know? Although you probably want to go to sleep too now that I think about it. It's like super late for you too. So, but yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for hanging out. You can. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I do have to get up super early, so I started really early today just so that I could try to get off, you know, earlier and run away earlier. Yeah, we need some sleep. Thank you for the loves. Thank you for the sub and thank you for the donation. Very much appreciate it. Thank you. And I will see if I can figure out why the donation thing isn't popping up and I will be back with you guys. Thank you. And I will talk to you next time. See you next stream. Hope
The
everyone
desert's
has
a
good
tough
night.
adversary, but at least it
Bye.
doesn't hide anything. What you see is what you get, and whether you take on the challenge is entirely up to you.
feel bad you just got here. But yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. It's good to see you. I hope I catch you next stream. I stopped my ending screen just to say that. But thank you so much. It's good to see you. Rest well, and who knows, maybe. Alright.
My people
You
are
take
used to
care,
the desert
though.
life. But still,
Take care.
I hope that one day they'll be able to find an
Oh,
oasis
wrong
of their
button!
own and leave the sandstorms behind for a
Streamer
better
chimes
life.
to end stream, yells at viewers through angry cat sounds. Good night, all.